Does your backhand feel good in practice, but falls apart in matches? Most players think it's because of their technique, but that's not the main reason. The real reason is your reaction under pressure. And once you fix that, your backhand becomes reliable, no matter what the score is. Over my years of playing and coaching, I watched thousands of matches, and the backhand breaking down under pressure is one of the most common things that I've seen happen. I'm sure I'm not alone, and it happened to you too many times like it did to me. For the few of you who actually prefer your backhand, your forehand may be breaking down under pressure. If that's the case, everything we're about to cover can still apply to you. So hopefully this video will help you out. Let's dive into it. The first problem you may face is late preparation. If you wait too long to turn your hips and shoulders and set your feet, the ball is already on top of you. That creates rush swings and more enforced errors. There are several reasons you may prepare late, but the main one is because of your anticipation. You need to read the speed, the depth, the height, the spin, and the direction of the incoming ball to adjust properly to your shot, which is not always easy to do. One of the best exercises to get an early preparation is to focus on having your hips and shoulders turn with your racket back before the ball bounces on your side of the court. That way, no matter the speed of the incoming ball, you should still have time to set your feet and make contact in front of you. If you're not sure how early or late your preparation is, try to set up a camera while you're riding with a friend and look at where your racket is by the time the ball bounces. You may be very surprised by the result. The second problem is poor spacing and footwork. Too close to the ball, too far, or off balance, you simply don't create the right amount of space to swing freely. The first thing you want to think about is to move to the ball with your racket back, as we just talked about. Lots of players are facing the court when preparing, which doesn't allow enough space to swing. That's because your arms are the only part of your body that can move, which gives you that feeling of getting jammed. When your hips and shoulders are turned, it's a lot easier to create that space. The other problem, related to what we just talked about, is that players don't set their feet before swinging, which does not allow the kinetic chain to take place and ultimately feel jammed on the shot. A good way to fix this problem is to start by letting the ball come down a little bit more, which will allow you to have more time to create that space. But don't worry, the time you will lose from waiting a little more will be gained back as the quality of your shot gets better. If you have that extra time to set up for your shot, you will organize more naturally and more efficiently, which will increase the quality of your swing and weight transfer. The ball will then travel through the court with a better quality and will have a greater impact on your opponent. The third problem is very common. You're holding the racket too tight. The tighter you hold the grip, the less flexible your wrist becomes, which will cause your arm to tense up and will make you lose a lot of feel at contact. You will most likely feel more robotic and have more trouble to handle the incoming pace of the ball. And all that can create a bad cycle. It can make you feel like you have to force it even more and you lose even more control. It may be hard to believe, but releasing the pressure on the grip will give you a lot more control over your shot. Simply because a great way to get more security is to add more spin, which is a lot easier to do with a loose wrist. So a great way to fix this problem is to use your non-dominant hand to hold the racket between shots so you can totally relax your dominant hand. If you consider gripping as tight as possible a 10 out of 10, you want to be at about 2 or 3 out of 10 with your dominant hand between shots. When it's time to hit it, you can hold it closer to a 5 or 6 out of 10. Firm, but not tight. If you have a two-handed backhand, you can hold the racket a little stronger with your non-dominant hand to allow the dominant hand to stay more relaxed. The bottom hand will always dictate how much whip the racket can get. For the one-handed backhand or forehand, use your non-dominant hand to start the preparation and let the dominant hand take over right before contact. The fourth problem is underswinging. When players get tight, they tend to hold their shot back by fear of missing. You will think that a shorter swing will help you get the ball in, but it actually gives you less control. And that's simply because the reflection of the incoming ball can easily make it spray all over the place. Kind of like if you will hit a ball at an angle against a wall. The ball will bounce away from you every time. The best way to fix that issue is to guide the ball through your contact point for a longer time, which will also naturally create that follow through. Even though it's not physically possible, you want to feel like you're holding that ball on your strings as long as possible, so it gives you that sense of pocketing the ball and gain more control at contact. No matter what angle the ball comes from, the path of your racket will take over and redirect your shot towards the target you're aiming for. And lastly, you're losing your balance when hitting your shot. Some of the previous problems we just talked about could have a direct impact on you losing your balance. If your posture isn't straight, your movement, rotation, and transfer to the ball will not be as efficient and can cause you to miss a lot more. Without a good center of gravity, it's extremely difficult to hit solid, consistent shots. The best way to keep a good balance is to use a wider base. Think at least a racket length between your feet, or get your feet further apart than your shoulders. And imagine you have a cup full of water on top of your head and you don't want any water to spill over. You could also practice with a cone on top of your head and try to not make it fall. Now you know how to fix those problems. Spend some time practicing to the point it becomes more automatic. A very simple drill I like to do every practice is to just rally cross court where you only focus on your consistency and a safe deep zone like halfway between the service line and the baseline. Forget about power. If you can rally 20 plus balls in a row with shape and margin, your backhand will hold up in matches. So remember, your backhand doesn't just break down because of bad technique. It usually breaks down because of the 5 common problems we just covered. Late preparation, poor spacing and footwork, gripping too tight, underswinging, and losing balance. Of course, there are other factors too. But if you focus on improving these 5, you will notice a big jump in your consistency and match performance. And your backhand will become a weapon under pressure. Try these tips in your next practice. Then drop a comment below and let me know if your backhand feels better. And don't forget to subscribe for more tennis tips.